The bold and the beautiful, Liam's crossroads. Liam Spencer's heart had always been torn between two women. It was a painful truth he had tried to bury for years. His feelings for Steffy had never fully faded, no matter how many times he tried to make a life with Hope. The love they once shared, the passionate chemistry, the deep connection, it had always lingered, waiting for the right moment to resurface. The recent events involving Luna had only brought that truth to the surface, pulling him back into the storm of his past. Liam had made the decision. It had been growing inside him for weeks, an undeniable pull towards Steffy that he couldn't ignore any longer. He needed to find her, to see her, to speak to her, and to make it clear that no matter the mess he was in with Luna, his heart was still tied to her. He could feel the weight of it in his chest, the way it cramped his ribs whenever he thought of Steffy. They had shared something powerful once, something real. It wasn't just a fleeting love. It was something that had shaped him, had changed him, and he wasn't ready to let it go. The turmoil that had clouded his life with Hope, the sense of duty and obligation that had kept him tethered to her, felt different now. He had done his best to try and make it work with Hope, but Luna's return had forced Liam to confront the reality that his emotions had never truly aligned with what was expected of him. Hope had tried to understand, but the love Liam had for her wasn't the same kind of love he had for Steffy. The decision to leave the city was final. It wasn't a rash choice. It was one he had agonized over, but deep down, he knew he had to do it. He needed to find Steffy and talk to her. He needed to see if there was still a chance, if they could ever find their way back to each other. There was so much unresolved between them. The years apart had only served to deepen the longing he felt for her, and the chaos with Luna and the pregnancy had pushed him to the brink. He couldn't keep living with a part of him always looking back. Before leaving, Liam called Steffy, his voice uncertain. "I'm coming to see you," he said, the words tumbling out, heavier than he intended. "I need to talk to you, Steffy. It's important." Steffy's reaction was immediate. She was shocked, but not surprised. Over the years, she had kept a careful distance, not allowing herself to fully move on from Liam, but also not allowing herself to get drawn back into the emotional whirlwind that had once consumed them both. She had built a life with stability, love, and a sense of peace. But Liam's call felt like an intrusion, an interruption to the life she had carefully crafted. When Liam arrived in Los Angeles, Steffy was waiting for him at the doorstep of her home, Finn by her side, a look of concern already etched into his face. Liam had insisted that Steffy hear him out alone, and Finn, though clearly uneasy, had agreed. The tension was palpable, thickening the air between them as Liam stood at the threshold, looking at Steffy, his first love, the woman who had once been his everything. "Liam," Steffy said, her voice cool, but beneath it was a mix of curiosity and apprehension. "What is it? What's going on?" Liam took a deep breath, his heart pounding. He had expected this moment to feel different, but now that he was standing here, face to face with Steffy again, the weight of the situation hit him like a freight train. He had no idea how to start, how to break the silence that had stretched between them for so long. "I've been thinking about us, about everything, Steffy," Liam began, his voice thick with emotion. "I don't know what I was doing before, but I can't ignore it anymore. I can't ignore how I feel about you." Steffy's gaze softened slightly, though her posture remained guarded. "Liam, we've been through this before. I've moved on. We both have. I'm with Finn now. I'm happy." Liam's heart sank, but he wasn't about to back down. He had to say it. He couldn't keep this secret any longer. "I know you're with Finn, Steffy, but there's something I need you to know. Luna's back in town, and she's pregnant. The baby's mine, Steffy." The words hung in the air, and Steffy's breath hitched. For a moment, the shock seemed to freeze her in place. She blinked, struggling to process what Liam had just said. It was too much to take in at once. Her heart pounded in her chest as she tried to make sense of it. "You're what?" Steffy's voice cracked with disbelief. "The baby's mine," Liam repeated, his voice steady but filled with a sorrow he couldn't hide. "Luna's back, and she's carrying my child. I didn't ask for this, Steffy." I didn't plan for it, but it's happening. Steffi's mind raced, and a surge of anger and confusion gripped her. She turned away for a moment, gathering her thoughts. She couldn't understand how Liam could be so conflicted, how he could still have a part of him tied to Luna after everything that had happened. She had fought so hard to move on, to build a future with Finn, and now this Liam's sudden return with this news, it was too much. So what? Liam? Steffi's voice was cold, her eyes narrowing with frustration. Are you asking me to feel sorry for you? Are you telling me you're going to go back to her now? Liam's heart broke at her words. No, Steffi, I'm not asking you to feel sorry for me. I'm telling you because I need you to understand what's happening. I've been struggling with it. I don't know what to do, but I can't just walk away from it. I can't pretend like it doesn't matter. Steffi's gaze softened as she looked at him. The anger was still there, but so was the love, deep, unshakable, and raw. You never did pretend. Liam, she said quietly, you never did walk away. You always carried this with you. And now you're telling me all of this just when I thought we had found a way to move forward. Liam reached out, his voice pleading. I never stopped loving you, Steffi. I never stopped wanting us to have a future together. But now, with everything going on with Luna and the baby, I'm lost. I don't know what to do. I'm stuck between two worlds, and I need your help. I need to know if there's still a chance for us. Steffi's emotions were a whirlwind. She had built a life with Finn, someone who loved her without the complications of their past. She had a family with him, a sense of stability that Liam could never offer. But hearing Liam's voice, seeing the pain in his eyes, it shook something inside her. She still cared for him, still loved him in ways she couldn't deny, and it hurt. It hurt to hear him confess that he was lost, that he was uncertain about their future. You want me to help you? Steffi asked, her voice breaking as she turned back to face him. Liam, you're asking me to open old wounds that have barely healed. I can't just drop everything for you, not after everything we've been through. Liam reached for her hand, his touch gentle. I'm not asking you to drop everything, Steffi. I'm asking you to tell me if there's still a chance, if we could ever get back to what we had. If you still feel anything for me. Steffi's heart clenched in her chest as she looked at Liam. The weight of his words, the vulnerability in his eyes, it was too much to ignore. And though she tried to hold back, a part of her still longed for what they once shared. That connection, that fire, it hadn't gone away. Liam, Steffi whispered, her voice shaking. I don't know. I don't know if I can go back to that. I don't know if I can trust you again. Liam's heart sank, but he wasn't ready to give up. I'm not asking you to trust me right away, Steffi. I just need you to know the truth. I'm not the same man I was before. I've changed, and I'll do whatever it takes to prove it to you. The silence between them grew heavy, but Steffi didn't pull away. For the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to feel the weight of what Liam's return meant, not just for her, but for their future. And as the night wore on, Liam became the only person Steffi could turn to. Her anger slowly melted into sadness, into something deeper, a feeling of betrayal, confusion, and an overwhelming desire for answers. She had once believed in the future they could have together, but now, faced with the reality of the past and the uncertain future with Liam and Luna's child, Steffi wasn't sure what to believe anymore. Liam knew that the road ahead would be difficult, that healing the wounds between them would take time. But for the first time in years, he felt like there might be hope. Maybe, just maybe, there was a way forward if they were both willing to face the past and make a choice. For now, though, all he could do was be there for her, a shoulder to cry on, a steady presence in the midst of the storm. And Steffi, despite her anger and confusion, found solace in that. Because sometimes the best way to begin again is by leaning on the one person who knows you better than anyone else. The bold and the beautiful, torn between two worlds, the next few days were a blur for Steffi. She had always been a woman of strength, someone who thrived on clarity and control, but Liam's return had shattered that foundation. She had tried to block out the memories of their past, tried to make peace with the life she had built with Finn. But now, those feelings for Liam, the unresolved love, the deep connection that had once been so unbreakable, were resurfacing like an unstoppable tide. It was overwhelming, suffocating even, as she tried to push the thoughts of Liam out of her mind. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't ignore the truth of what he had said. "I never stopped loving you." It wasn't just the shock of his confession. It was the realization that deep down, she still felt something for him too. Something that she couldn't just dismiss or ignore. It was a dangerous thing to feel something that could undo all the progress she'd made with Finn, the stability they had built, and the family they were creating. She didn't want to go back to the mess they had once been, the endless cycle of love and pain, confusion and heartbreak. But Liam had just opened that door again, and she wasn't sure if she had the strength to keep it closed. Steffy needed time to think. But as the days passed, she found herself drawn back to the same thoughts over and over. She knew she couldn't ignore what Liam had said forever. The love they had was real, and no matter how many years had passed, it still held a powerful sway over her heart. But she also knew she couldn't let herself be swayed by past emotions alone. There were too many other factors at play. Finn, the life they had built together, the child they had planned for. She had to be rational. She had to consider everything. Meanwhile, Liam couldn't stay away. His thoughts, too, were consumed by Steffy. Every hour that passed without hearing from her felt like an eternity. He had never expected things to be easy. He knew they couldn't just pick up where they had left off years ago. But the uncertainty was tearing him apart. He had been so sure when he left for LA that this was the right decision, that he needed to tell Steffy the truth, that she deserved to know about Luna's pregnancy and the mess his life had become. But now, standing in the quiet of his hotel room, he realized just how complicated everything had become. He had always been torn between two worlds. Hope had been his safe harbor for a while, the woman he had built a life with, but it was Steffy who had always been the one he couldn't forget. And now Luna's pregnancy added a whole new layer of complexity to everything. He didn't want to walk away from his child, but at the same time, he didn't want to lose Steffy again. His heart was torn, and he didn't know how to fix it. Finally, unable to bear the silence, Liam called Steffy again. His voice was tentative as it came through the phone, each word carefully measured. "Steffy, it's me. I know I've messed things up, but I need to see you again. I need to talk to you." Steffy hesitated. She had spent the last few days wrestling with her emotions, trying to hold on to the life she had created with Finn. She had wanted stability, peace, a future free from the chaos of her past with Liam. But Liam's words kept echoing in her mind, and the more she tried to push him away, the harder it became. "Liam," Steffy's voice was strained. "I don't know if this is a good idea. I've made my choices. I'm with Finn now, and we're building something. I can't just throw that away." Liam's heart sank at the words, but he pressed on. "I'm not asking you to throw everything away, Steffy. I'm not asking you to choose now. But I can't just pretend like this doesn't matter. We need to talk. Please." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Steffy sighed, clearly torn. Finally, she spoke again, her voice softer this time. "Okay, Liam, I'll meet you, but only to talk. Nothing more." It was a fragile truce, but it was enough for Liam to hold on to. When they met later that evening, it was in a quiet cafe, away from the prying eyes of the press. Steffy arrived first, her face a mask of careful composure. Liam was already waiting for her, his hands nervously tapping the table. When she walked in, their eyes met, and for a moment nothing else seemed to matter. The years between them fell away, and they were once again the two people who had loved each other more deeply than anyone could understand. But reality quickly crashed back in. Steffy sat down, taking a deep breath. "I'm here, Liam. What do you need to say?" Liam's voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed his inner turmoil. "I need you to understand, Steffy. I never stopped loving you. I never stopped thinking about you. Even when I was with hope, even when I thought I was moving on, you were always there in the back of my mind." Steffi looked away, swallowing the lump in her throat. "You can't just say things like that, Liam. You can't just expect me to forget everything and go back to the way we were. It's not that simple." "I know it's not," Liam replied quietly. "But I can't live in this uncertainty anymore. I can't keep pretending like my life is where I want it to be when you're still in my heart." Steffi's gaze softened, but her resolve remained firm. "And what about Luna? What about her baby? You're telling me that your life is in chaos because of all of this, but I can't just ignore the fact that you're going to be a father. What happens to that?" Liam paused, his eyes dropping to the table as he struggled to find the words. "I don't know what to do, Steffi. I don't want to walk away from my child, but I don't know if I can stay with Luna. I don't know if I can do this. Not when I still feel the way I do about you." Steffi's voice cracked, but she held it together. "You have to figure it out, Liam. You have to choose. I can't be the reason you keep running back to me when you have responsibilities, a child on the way." "Finn and I know," Liam interrupted, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm not asking you to wait for me, Steffi. I'm not asking you to put your life on hold for me. But I need you to know the truth. I can't keep pretending like I'm over you when I'm not. And I can't keep living this lie with Luna, not when I know that my heart is still with you." The silence between them was suffocating. Steffi could feel the weight of his words pressing down on her chest. She had wanted clarity, she had wanted peace, but now, faced with the truth of Liam's feelings, she was more confused than ever. She had made a life with Finn, someone who was steady, reliable, someone who loved her without the baggage of the past. But Liam's confession had thrown everything into chaos once again. "I need time, Liam," Steffi whispered, her voice barely audible. "I can't just make a decision like this. I need to think. I need to figure out what's best for me, for my family." Liam nodded, his heart heavy with the realization that he couldn't rush her. "Take all the time you need, Steffi. I'll wait. But just know that I'll always be here, no matter what you decide." As Steffi walked out of the cafe that night, Liam sat in silence, the weight of his confession still hanging in the air. He had finally said the words he had kept buried for so long. But now the real battle began. He had put his heart on the line, but would Steffi ever be able to trust him again? Would she ever be able to reconcile the past with the present and decide if they could have a future together? For now, all Liam could do was wait, hope that the woman he had always loved would find her way back to him. But as the days passed, the pressure mounted, and the decisions they both had to make became more complicated.